Here with Chris Wilson from Gear Games to talk about obviously Diablo 3, big day today, and also about their ARPG Path of Exile, which a lot of you will know about already. So say hello to Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hey there, thanks for having me on.
Hi, Chris. Obviously, it's a big day today for anyone who's been following the Diablo series. But are you excited about the prospect of getting into the game finally?
I'm very excited. My collector's edition has been ordered, and we're recording it a few days in advance, but hopefully it's here by today.
From your background, from working on Path of Exile, I mean, Diablo series was pretty much a big influence on you guys. Can you tell us a little bit how it's influenced your current development, what you think about the game?
I grew up playing Diablo 1, Diablo 2. Most of my friends I met playing these games, and a lot of our development team have played Diablo 1 and 2. So we were greatly inspired by the series when we started working on Path of Exile. I mean, it had been many years since a good action RPG had come out, and we really wanted to try to make something that fit well into the genre ourselves. So we were definitely interested to see what Blizzard would come up with Diablo 3, and we see a pretty polished product there. I mean, it's looking really exciting.
As far as the Diablo series is concerned, much as it really influenced your game design and development of the current project you're working on, is there things from the series that you thought, that's fantastic, we really want that in our game?
So there are a lot of elements. I mean, obviously, the core action RPG was defined by Diablo and Diablo 2, and although there have been many games since then that have added to the genre, and we are influenced by those games as well to some degree, most of the core game design is something that comes from the core Diablo games. There are many systems in these games, though, that we decided we didn't like. For example, the flask system that's used in a lot of these games, we redesigned that. We thought we could take a new way of doing skills, and that's been quite successful. We changed a lot about how passive skills work, so it's a lot more complicated.
So I guess you guys also have been playing the Diablo 3 beta when that came out last year. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, how do you think that went? What did you think of it? Did you think the series is going in the right direction? Just what's your overall thoughts?
Well, it's difficult to judge the full game from the beta. I mean, the beta can be finished in 40 minutes or an hour, whereas the full game, they're saying, takes 15 or 20 hours to play through. I may be wrong on that fact, but that's a very large game, and I'm sure that they've designed the betas, because it's the beginning of the game, it's kind of a tutorial to ease new players to the genre into it, so it would be very unfair for me to judge their final game from a beta, and it's a little unfair that some of their fans are judging it in that way. Having said that, while the beta is very polished and presents a really cinematic experience, I'm a little concerned from a player that the game mechanics have been simplified quite a lot. Like, I know a certain amount of this is necessary to hit such a large audience, but thankfully in my professional job I can make some quite different game mechanics decisions for our product.
From things that had changed, I mean, what really stood out for you that you thought, well, I'm not so sure about that. It's not kind of not the way I would have done it.
The biggest thing is the idea of the character builds having some degree of permanence to them. My understanding is that it's relatively easy to change your build in Diablo 3, and this kind of means that you can play through the game however you want, and then if your friend comes up with a better build, you can be them within a few minutes, ignoring the items you'd have to find or buy, I guess, from their auction house in order to become that character. You can relatively easily change, and I just worry as a game designer that this encourages people to play through the game one time rather than replay it for quite a long time. We've made decisions on Path of Exile that encourage people to play a lot of characters. You can play them in different ways, and there's a certain amount of lock-in. And this has both good and bad consequences, of course. It means that a character's achievements are much more real to the player. They've had to build a certain way, and they can't cheesily play through with an easy strategy and then switch to a powerful one at the end. It defines their actual build and character that they have for that avatar in the game. It also means, of course, that you can actually get excited about playing a second character. You've played your bow duelist and you decide you want to play a sword duelist, and instead of just clicking some buttons to respec it, you can you have to actually play a new character and have a new personality for it.
I want to talk a little bit about Path of Exile now, because you guys have been testing that now for quite a long time. How are things going? How's that shaping up at the moment?
It's going really well. We've been in closed beta since August, and our current plan is that we're going to be entering open beta in around late June. So we've been running a series of public stress testing weekends. By the time you see this, there will have been 2 of them, and we're very pleased with the results so far. We're actually preparing for another one that starts tomorrow, which will be before you actually watch this recording. And hopefully that one will have gone well. But the one we ran in late March was very successful. We attracted 47,000 players there, which is a very large amount, for our game, considering we're indies running out of a small studio in New Zealand. But we're very pleased with the feedback people have been giving us for the beta, and it's nice that we can afford, without a publisher, to be in beta for such a long period of time and make sure that it's right before we release it. We're kind of pretending that it is released and just iterating on it as fast as we can.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. It almost feels quite complete in a way, and it is just a matter of reiterating, polishing, adding new systems and testing. And obviously, you've got this new class that you'll be testing out this weekend. Also, going over to monetizing your ethical microtransactions, and obviously we can sort of compare that in a way with the auction house with Blizzard, which is their kind of way of monetizing Diablo 3. Have you thought about anything like an auction house or anything like that for real money?
We made some interesting game design choices that kind of don't go well with having auction houses, let alone real money ones. We don't actually have gold in our game at all. It's a barter system based on other types of currency items, but that's quite a long rant. So a naive auction house wouldn't work. Having said that, we do have interesting trade plans coming soon, which we haven't announced yet. So with regard to the real money aspect, now this is a killer for us because, like, people play this game. But people play games because they want to escape from their real life. You know, they want to have something fun to do when they get home from work. And it kind of sucks if people can drag their real life wealth and power into the game. So if you've got some, job that you don't enjoy and you don't make much money, it's nice to be able to go and play the game and actually be powerful compared to people who might be your boss in real life. And it really does kind of suck if they can buy all the best items and leave you with nothing. And also from another point of view, we're trying to appeal to a hardcore crowd who love PvP combat, for example. And it's really unfair for us to try to promote good PvP combat and at the same time turn around and sell stuff like that. So we're definitely not adding a real money auction house. And we feel it's because it's what the players want. I mean, the people who don't want the ability to buy power will come to our game.
So, Chris, what are your thoughts on Blizzard delaying the release of PvP until the end of this year? If we see it at all, I mean, who knows?
PvP is very difficult to balance in this type of game, but on our side, we're willing to put the effort in. And I can understand if they're trying to sell a game to people who want a really compelling single-player playthrough, that PvP is less of a priority. And I can also understand them turning off a feature that's not ready for launch. I mean, if it's not ready, then people shouldn't be playing it. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. They've repetitively stated that they don't want to make it an esport, so I suspect it will be a casual thing that you can have a lot of fun with your friends, but there may be less preparing, PvP builds and such compared to other games.
So, obviously, going back to PoE, you're basically really kind of ramped up on the tests. The tests have been more frequent. You say that they've been relatively successful. How close do you think you are now to saying, you know what, you guys, we really can't nail this down any further? I think now's the right time to do this.
So we have a plan that's another 5 years of development at least in terms of features we'd love to add. But of course, people will be consuming the game a long time before then. Our current estimation is that we enter open beta in basically late June. And open beta is the point that we stop wiping characters when we make changes. So we basically say, okay, guys, anyone can play the game and you're going to keep all of your progress. So it's like a soft release. Though, of course, being in beta, we're still quite happy to change major systems. And we're treating that as the release, and it's essentially 6 or 8 weeks from now, depending on how things go. So we're excited that it's getting a lot closer. Of course, if things are broken after that point, we will change them. If we have to revamp major systems, if we have to replace an entire act, we will do so because we're treating it like a 5 to 10 year project. And we have some features scheduled that are 3 or 4 years away, things that would be really cool to add to the game but aren't important right now because there's more important stuff to do. And we're making sure that we're going to continue to upgrade it. Our team will only grow larger as the game is released. The thing that we're released with will be a shadow of what it will be like in the future. Having said that, I'm pretty pleased with the shadow at the moment.
And how did your pre-order stuff go? Because that was quite a big deal. You had some pretty cool stuff up in the pre-orders.
Thanks. So, as you mentioned, we were allowing people to pre-order microtransaction credit, which they can spend on our cosmetic microtransactions. And we give out a variety of bonuses depending on what people order. For example, any purchase gives you access to the beta. Larger purchases start to give you interesting in-game pets. And even larger ones get shipped signed copies of the game and maps, t-shirts, and that kind of thing, with the largest ones allowing people to help design their own unique items that go in the game. And of course, we'd encourage any viewers to help support us by buying these if they can. But in terms of how it's gone, we've been running it for, I think it's about 5 or 6 weeks now, and I believe we're over $350,000 so far. This is really good for us, of course, because that means quite a long development runway. I mean, that gets us well into open beta in terms of our development costs. It's nice to be able to run a studio cheaply like this. I mean, many companies could blow through 350K in a month if they needed to. But this helps guarantee the security of the game. But of course, we'll hopefully need plenty of more money in the future in order to see everything that we'd like to get added.
Did you, knowing the growing trend at the moment for Kickstarter projects, did you actually think at any point, this would be quite a good way to do it? I know I've spoken to Arthur, who's working on Grim Dawn, and they've gone down that route. Was that something that you possibly looked at? It's very similar in a way what you've done with the pre-orders to like a Kickstarter.
We did design it around a Kickstarter campaign, but we decided not to do it on our own site on Kickstarter and to do it on our own site for a few reasons. Firstly, Kickstarter is only available to American companies, so that was, although I'm sure it would be possible to arrange that, it would have been a problem in the short term. Secondly, it's cheaper for us to do it on our own site. The fees are lower, and that makes a difference. We'd rather have every dollar go towards development rather than just most of it. Thirdly, we already had an established fan base. I mean, we didn't need the publicity from Kickstarter because we had 300,000 people on our own forum clamoring to give us money. And finally, we felt it wasn't really in the same spirit as Kickstarter because this is money that helps us finish the game rather than, it's not like we have an idea that we're trying to kickstart here. We have the game basically finished. And if we were unable to raise money, we would just have to go with the traditional investment route, which of course is probably worse for the players. So I'm very glad that they were able to donate and continue to do so.
Well, congratulations, first of all, on getting to this stage. It's no mean feat, to say the least. I'm going to ask you one more question before we wrap up, and that is, have you guys taken next week off to play Diablo 3? I
actually did tell the guys in the office that I will be here only in spirit on one of the days, and they should not disturb me. Unfortunately, I might have to prepare a patch next week, so it might just be an evenings thing.
But just purely, could you not say it was for research purposes, and just tell the community that we were doing further research, and the patch is going to have to just wait?
I think there'll be nothing urgent enough to discover about the game that I need to play it on the first day, but I'll try to get it in. I'm looking forward to it as a player to see what they've made, and I'm really looking forward to playing through their single player, the one time that I'm going to need to.
Well, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on Diablo 3 in a week or so's time when you've managed to sort of race your way through it. Well, assuming work isn't too pressing, of course. And thanks a lot for taking time out to talk to us and talk to the Diablo community about Diablo 3 and Path of Exile.
No problem. It was great being here. Thank you.